All right, let me check the audio. Testing.
Testing.
All right, cool. So the audio sounds good. What we're gonna be tackling today is actually adjusting the height of my bench here. When I originally built this, I built it to be in plane with my Delta T36725 table saw, which comes out to about 37 inches. This bench was built at 36. Then it has the leveling feet down at the bottom. You guys can see that there. And what my goal for the day is, actually, I'm planning to put a router table inside of my Delta table saw, as well as building an entire enclosure slash cart for it. So I'm actually going to be able to drop all my benches down to the height of my ones up front. So to do so, the first thing I need to do is actually cut down my out feet table. Then I'm going to delve into actually building the router table and base for my table saw. So the first step to that, though, I need to actually pull out all the drawers in this bench so it's actually light enough for me to tip over. Not being one of the bigger drawers, the rest of this shouldn't be too bad. Actually, this is my heaviest drawer. Huh. Whew. Those first two are actually pretty heavy. The rest of these aren't too bad. This one might be a little heavy too. Probably need to lower that camera so that glare can stop happening. Let me do that now. And this has been something I've been putting off for quite a while. Again, I'm extremely tall. If you guys haven't noticed. But when I built my other two benches up front, they were about 34.5 inches. I recently built one for my truck. That thing's about 32 inches. And essentially, whenever you're working with a workbench, you want your bench to be at your waist, which for me is like right here. These are, again, just slightly too tall to be comfortable. I want to be able to cross-cut plywood all the way across without having to use a ladder. So a shorter bench would be nicer, and it'll give me the ability to add better wheels to my table saw. So overall, this is a project I've been putting off for a while. Just a little bit of a pain in the ass to do after the initial build of the bench. But I'm glad when I built the bench, I kind of planned for the ability to always come back and cut the bottom off. So, I guess now is the time to do so. So now I'm about to pull this last drawer out. I probably build to bring the camera down a little bit closer. And what I'm going to do is unscrew the base. I believe I screwed the base itself down into the bench. So I'm going to try to back out all the screws on here, tip the bench over, then I should be able to unscrew the base, take the base out, sit it on top. We'll disassemble it, run it through the table saw to make it, I think currently the base is made up of like 2x4s that are about 3 inches wide. I'm going to take them down to about 1.5 inches and then reinstall it. And then I'm going to use my flush trim router to just trim the bottom of the legs to drop the whole entire bench down 1.5 inches, making it the same height as my other benches. It's the plan anyway. I don't really remember how I put this bench together, or if I use screws, if I use glue, if I use nails, etc. I don't really remember. But now it should be light enough. I don't think this thing has moved since I originally built it. No, I did move it one time. I will say, as far as the trash and stuff underneath here, it's not as bad as I thought it would be. Let me grab the broom. I'm gonna kind of clean up some of the stuff that's right up under here, and then we're gonna flip the bench over and start taking her apart. Thank you guys for joining in. Let me read that. I can't quite see it. What's up, bro? This is cool. Thank you. Currently what we're doing is, this is my current outfeed table. When I originally built it, I built it to be the same height as my Delta table saw in the back. And that was about 36.5, 37 inches after leveling it out. My plan now is to flip this bench over, cut it about 1.5 inches shorter. And once it's shorter, then I'm gonna add a router table into the wing of my table saw and build an overall cart for this, so I can also drop the height of the table saw. It's the plan anyway. I have a job coming up where I need to build about 10 interior doors, and I wanted a better router table setup. So to get the router table set up that I want, I need to do this inside of my wing. So I figured do all this at the same time. I have a new router lift and everything else coming. So I figured this would be the best time to break down the bench, do the table saw upgrade, just kind of do it all at the same time. And I'm actually very impressed about how little trash is up under the tables. I mean, up under the bench. I think I did pretty good. I don't see anything important like lost tools, which is what I was really expecting. Oh, last thing I gotta take off the bench. If you guys didn't know, one of the other features I put inside the bench was this paper roll holder. It's kind of how I roll out craft paper. onto my bench whenever I'm spraying or painting. It sits down here and I just roll it out. You know, I don't see where I drove in screws down into my framing, which I'm pretty sure I did. Let me sweep out this bottom section. Yeah, I don't see where I drove screws down into the framing, so maybe I drove screws upward. That wouldn't make any sense. Well, I won't know until I flip it over, so that's what I gotta do next. Oh, let me actually show you guys this to make this make sense. The bench has this toe kick area right here. Essentially just a flat piece of plywood across the bottom. This toe kick is made up of, again, 3-inch wide 2x4s. So theoretically, if that wasn't there, I could just cut this vertical piece of plywood right here, this side panel. I could just cut 1.5 inches off of that, but it won't drop down unless I remove this framing material. So I need to take that out, rip all that down to 1.5 inches, then reinstall it, and then I'll be able to drop the height of the overall bench. But I thought I drove screws on the inside to kind of lock everything together. I don't see those screws, so I'm going to have to flip this thing over and investigate how I put it together. So let's drop her back down. I probably actually should get it all the way to one side and then flip it over. Alright, don't know how heavy or not heavy this is going to be, but with all the drawers out, it shouldn't be too bad. Let's give her her first test. Is there still a drawer in there? Oops. Ha 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 ha, just kidding. One more drawer I had to take out. I probably should be on that side. But the question is, how do I flip it from over here? Because the bench itself isn't too heavy. I just don't really have nothing to grab to lower it down without a kerthump. But I guess I can always just grab it right here. There we go. Let's see now, how did I attach it to the top? And to be funny, it looks like I actually used nails. Okay, that's not going to be too bad. So the first thing I want to go ahead and do is remove these wheels. So I need to grab these pair of wrenches. Not rails, but wheels. Put a wrench on one side, put one on the other. And we're going to put this right here in the drawer. Let's get this one down here. And we can remove the whole bar piece. And then this is just held on with Phillips screws. This one has GRK cabinet head screws and some Craig screws. So let's get the bar off on the other side, and then we'll remove both of those. And just so you guys can see, this is the 2x4 framing structure underneath. What I'm going to do is actually, once I back out all the wheel screws and everything else, get all the stuff disconnected, we're going to, it looks like, again, it's just nails down there at the bottom. So I probably just pinned it together with 18 gauge nails. Hopefully that's it. I should be able to just pry all this off, rip this down to 1.5 inches or 1.25 inches. So I want to get everything just a little bit lower. Reassemble it, install it back underneath the bench. And then I'm going to use my flush trim router to trim this edge, and then reinstall the leveling feet and hardware. Then I'll drop the overall bench down, and then I can delve into building the table saw situation. All right. Let's grab the drills. It looked like boom, 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 and a Phillips. Now let me grab the flex battery for the Phillips. Oh, still a hammer drill. And that is the bottom four. The bottom three. That square bit. Oh, because the bottom holes are catching into the framing right there. So I guess I could go with a longer screw. That's one wheel. What kind of screws do I use? These are all stars. So a T25. I get the rest of the wheels and the feet off, and then we'll switch to a T25. Back out all of these, and then these, since it's just pin nailed, should just pry off again unless I use glue. But I remember telling myself that if I ever wanted to cut this off shorter, I planned this out to have framing down here so I can always remove this and always cut these sides. So I want to say that I planned for it. I just can't fully remember. I'm hoping there's no glue and this pops off nice and easy. Alright, well that's that side. Let's get the other ones off the other side. And then we can start removing the framing underneath and getting all this ripped down so we can drop the overall height of the bench. Whew. All right. All of the wheels and feet are off. Next step is to remove the framing underneath. And for that, I'll need a T25. I'll put it in this one. Alright, so as far as I know, that is all the fasteners into the plywood. Where did I put that hammer and crowbar? Alright, this is going to determine whether or not this is going to be a pain in the ass or if this is going to be nice and simple. She seems to be coming up. Okay, so yeah, definitely not glued in. She just has pin nails. So I'm going to actually back out the screws on this side, pull all the individual pieces out, and then run everything through the table saw. A few pin nails. Aren't too much to deal with. I just can't take it all as one piece. Alright. Now, theoretically, again, if there's no glue, only I'm dealing with is the few nails that are holding it up top, so I can just take this crowbar and pry it free from the panel. Oh, and I see I also drove a pin nail through the face here, just making my life all the more easy. Me in the past making life easy. So yeah, I'm gonna have to pull all these nails out and then rip everything down to 1.5 inches. But that's gonna be the game plan. We're gonna disassemble the base, flip her back over, pull out all the nails and everything else, rip all these things down to about 1.5 inches, maybe 1.25 inches. And that will drop the overall height of these benches to the same height as my other adjustable benches. And before I can even pop this out, I gotta flip it back over and back up the screws on the other side. Well, I could go ahead and pry the screws out halfway. Pry the nails. No, I can't, because then I'll bend the 2x4 on the other side. Don't know if I got enough room to flip it right now. Do I? I might. All right, here we go one more time. I was trying to sit on the steps for the bathroom. Yeah, that'll be fine. Just so I know which side it goes on. But now we gotta pop out all these. Then when I come back, pull all the nails out, rip everything down to the proper widths, and then I can actually, again, reassemble this bench. This is one of those things I would love to have my helper doing now. You know, pulling nails, taking the bench apart. Whew. I missed a screw. Whew. This has me breaking a sweat now. Alright, now it's time for a ton of nails to get pulled. Oh, and I did miss a screw. Huh? All right.
Are you building a different table?
No, just making it shorter.
Why?
Oh, because I'm shorter. Because I'm short. And better to do it now while I have the chance.
Okay.
Before I rebuild the table saw, it just makes more sense to do it now.
All right.
I'm honestly about ready for a cigarette break. I want to go ahead and get this flipped back over. And once it's flipped over, then I can pull all the nails out of the other pieces with it standing up. Whew. I will say there's a lot more work than I originally anticipated just to upgrade my outfeed table. Well, it's not even an upgrade to the outfeed table. It's to make the table saw more functional. It's just going to make it a little bit shorter for me. I wish I could go all the way down to like 34, but my other two Park style benches, they're down at 34 and a half. Those can get taller. This one cannot. So I can't go shorter than those ones are, which would be 34 and a half. All right, I should be able to fold this one back down on the ground. And then we're gonna pull nails and again rip everything down. Ooh. Whew. Yeah, this is the height that I originally built the bench at. This is sitting at exactly 36, I believe. Yep, right at 36. So that plus the leveling feet, which brought it up even with the table saw. Because right now, how the table saw comes from factory, 36 is way too low to use with the table saw. So I end up adding leveling feet and bringing this all the way up to match that. Which again, with me being short, and you want your workbench, this is like the top of my hip, almost in line with my belly button. You want your workbenches to be down at your hip to actually give you the proper ability to one, take your circular saws, cross-cut sheet goods, etc. So I feel better at like 32, but again, the lowest I can go is about 34 and a half. I could make this again. I probably could go all the way down to, because these are, yeah, these are 3 inches. I could take a whole 2 inches off and go all the way down to 34, and then they will be sitting lower than those tables, but that gives me a half inch to actually level out the feet, and then they'll rest at even with those benches. So I might do that actually. Make it like 34 and a quarter. Well, it doesn't matter because it's never going to be lower than those benches. Because I'm always going to level it up. So I might just go to an even 34 and a quarter. Which would be me taking off 1 3/4 inches. I want whatever frame I put up on it to be at least 1 inch. So I can't take off more than 2. So I can go to 34. So I might rip all these to 1 1/4 inches. Might be what I do. I take all these to 1 1/4 inches. It's still some type of framework down beneath the bench that'll help it rest down solid. But then I'll end up adding my leveling feet and everything else to bring it up to the even 34 and a half, which gives me a 1/4 inch to kind of raise it up off the floor to do some leveling and whatnot to get them in line with those other benches. Probably the game plan, and then I built the table saw to be in line with this after that adjustment. But I'm going to grab some water and smoke a quick cigarette. Whew. Oh my God, I definitely needed that. Might as well start pulling nails too while smoking a cigarette so I'm not just wasting time. I swear I gotta get somebody that knows about, or maybe it's just the camera in general. That glare, once it bounces off of this bench, I'm guessing, really is annoying. You know, either go over this with another black laminate or something. And to be honest, to be lazy, this is the bottom. All the nails kind of came into the top. I'm probably just going to rip me a good 1.25 inches off of this side so I don't have to pull all the nails on the top. Save me just a little bit of work in this rework. And when I was originally building the bench, I was thinking about it too. I was like, man, 37.5 is going to be a little tall for me. Probably should do something about it. But I didn't think about a way to actually drop the height of the overall table saw. It was my first large table saw. And then I found videos of people taking the legs off and building their own cart. And I was like, oh, I can make it shorter if I wanted to. Again, hindsight, you learn things like that. And these are all the dividers in the middle. They didn't have any nails down the side, so I don't need to pull any of those off the top. These are just going to get ripped. I definitely need to do some more updated videos. I think this bench was the second project I built in here. And when I built this, I didn't even have a flat surface to work off of. So, but yeah, all those older videos are really, really bad. Definitely wouldn't hurt to go back and revisit some of the older content and make better videos. Woo! The annoying part is over. Let me save all these screws. I'll probably just put them back there. Alright, now I can get you guys a bit closer and we can rip these pieces. And with the bench again being at 36, I want 34.25, so I need to minus 1.75 inches, which will leave 1.25 inches. This is what I want to set my fence to. All right. All right. Now all we gotta do is nail the new frame together, and then we'll flip the bench back over and install it underneath. And we can use the current bench to do so. So let me switch the camera around so you guys can see. And then pull out the air hose to tack things together and then drive in some screws. Probably should grab a pre-drilling bit just to make sure I don't split anything. There we go. I already had X's marked out for each one where each one of these went. There we go. So let's see, which fasteners do I want to use for this? Trying to think. Do I have some 18 gauge, 1.5 inch, but those are too short. I might grab my 15 gauge gun, and I might have enough room to drive in 1 nail and 2 screws. So we're going to try to attempt anyway. We're currently working on my outfeed table right here. So I built this outfeed table probably 2 years ago, give or take. And we just took off the leveling feet, the casters and everything else. And I'm currently about to drop the overall height of the bench. I'm extremely tall. I'm like 7'5", but this workbench was built at 36 inches and 36 inches. Then I had to raise it up because the Delta table saw is set for 37, I think. So after everything was all said and done, my table saw was at my belly button, and you typically want it about at your waist. And I'm getting ready to add a router table and everything else for the table saw. So I figured before I do all that, I'm going to also build a little cart and everything else for the table saw. So before I delve into doing all the table saw upgrades, let me drop the overall height of my workbench. My other 2 workbenches inside of my shop are currently sitting at 34.5 inches. So what I'm doing right now is this was the framing that was underneath. I just ripped it down. It was originally about 3 inches. Now it's 1.25 inches, which will drop the bench down to about 34.25. Then leveling feet, I'll get it to about 34.5. It'll be the same height as those. And then I can drop the overall height of my table saw to work with everything else. I'm actually extremely tall. I think for me, the comfortable bench height is about 32 inches though. But again, I can't go that low because my other 2 benches in the shop, those ones up front are 4.5. So I can't make this any lower. And also when I originally built the bench, the max I could take off was 3 inches. So the lowest I could go is 33. But structurally, I want to at least have some type of framing underneath the bench. So what we're doing is, again, dropping the bench down to about 34.25, leveling feet. They'll be in height with those. And then I can drop the table saw down. And again, belly button's right here. And we're at the bench. Again, you typically want your benches, my hip is right here. We're about 2.5, 3 inches above it. Actually, let me grab a tape measure. It's kind of hard for me to look at myself. Either way, you want your benches to be low enough so you can actually take a sheet of plywood and cross cut all the way across of it. I built another bench that's actually inside of my box truck, and that bench is about 32 inches, and it's awesome. I actually love 32 inches for myself. But again, when I originally bought the table saw, I didn't know you can drop it beneath 37 inches. So I figured, got to make the benches stand at 36 and kind of go with it. Now figuring out that I can actually take the legs off the table saw and drop it down to whatever height I want when I build a cart. I'm about to do all these upgrades for the table saw, so do it all at the same time is what I'm thinking. And the last step for this process, though, is just nailing this frame back together, screwing it together, flipping the bench back over, reinstalling this, and then installing all of my wheels and adjustable feet. And then I'll get everything to the proper height. Probably in the next video, I'm going to be delving into the table saw. But what I want to do with the table saw is eventually I'm going to remove this leaf. Because my little cart that I'm going to add underneath is going to come all the way to the edge. I plan to add a sliding feature so I can kind of do cross cuts on this side. And then I'm going to take this whole entire leaf out and make an expansion that comes all the way over here. And then that's where my router table is going to sit. I'm going to put dust collection underneath of it. And then with the rest of the cart, I'm going to kind of try to enclose the table saw, add a 4-inch dust hose, kind of just make this, $600 table saw perform a little bit better. I have about 10 doors that I have to build for a client. So a larger router table, permanent router table inside the shop, better dust collection. And I hate that this table saw has the one pivoting wheel over here and the two stationaries. Whenever you move it, you kind of got to jostle it around. So upgrading the wheels on this has kind of been something I wanted to do anyway, because second story, it's my dad's Range Rover outside, and he wants to bring it in here so he can work on it. All my benches in my shop are on wheels, so they can all move around. But I think without sliding this bench back, you don't have enough room to work on the car. So the table saw being a pain in the ass to move and get lined back up with my T-tracks. It's been a pain, so having better wheels on that will make moving stuff around in here a little bit better. So, long story short, that's the game plan. But what we're about to do is grab my nail gun out the truck. Actually, I'm leaving you guys in here. I don't know if he has a loose signal. Step outside. So let me grab my nail gun. I'm using my 15 gauge nail gun and screws, and we'll put this back together. And I guess it wouldn't hurt to use the face frame clamp to keep everything nice and flush. And keep me from shooting my fingers, which is always important. I need to get a new one of these. There we go. So let's bring it close enough to the edge. Flush everything up. Okay, my clamp is too tight right now. Need to loosen that. And then let me set up a drill bit so I can pre-drill holes and drive in those screws. Probably should actually switch to trim head screws versus, I was originally using deck screws, and I would like to still be able to get 2 screws in here. I think the only way I'm going to do that is if I use trim head screws. I did recently buy a bunch of cabinet head screws. I might just use those. See, these are only 2s though. I do have some 2.5-inch trim head screws. Okay, so I don't have those trim head screws, but I do have some 2.5 pocket hole screws, which might do the job. The heads aren't super big, threads aren't massive. We'll use these. So let me get a drill bit that matches that. That'll work. And we'll pre-drill all these holes and get this reassembled. Yeah, I think at least 2 screws is kind of like the bare minimum that you would want on this. 1 screw will still be fine because it's still going to get fastened to the actual plywood and everything else underneath. Just wouldn't hurt to have 2. And again, the original frame was a whole 3 inches thick. So, you know, downsizing to only 1.25 inches. I definitely do want to make sure I put it together nice and solid. So we're going to rinse and repeat this process, face frame clamping it, making sure we're right there on all of our marks, get everything nice and flush, and swivel the clamp out of my way. And again, our bench is nice and flat. This gets our faces nice and flush with each other. So when I actually mount everything back together, it's going to be a nice and flat bench. Question is, do I have enough of these 2.5-inch screws? If not, I'll just switch back to the deck screws. I think they'll be fine too, as long as it's pre-drilled. Sing you this song I wrote. I'm gonna sing it note for note. Don't worry. Be happy now. Ooh. Not gonna lie. I didn't know how long this project was gonna take, but I actually feel pretty confident this bench will be put back together today. I might be able to do that router table and table saw upgrade tomorrow. That stuff I do want to record, so that probably won't be a live stream. I might be able to do some of it on a live stream because I would like YouTube to be able to see it, without having to wait 5-6 months. So I might do some of it as a live stream. Oh, and I've already laid out in there where each one of the blocks go. This shouldn't be too bad to put back together. I might flip it all the way over on its head, though, or on its top. Then I'll scratch this up a lot. Oh, my drill bit went in the hole where the nail did, and it snapped. Let's get a starter hole before I trash the bit. Beautiful. And we have one screw to spare. Now we can actually flip the bench back over. Reinstall the bottom platform, and then we'll flush trim it to its actual size. Whew. All right, here we go. Where did I put those clamps? I had 3 clamps in here. Oh, here they are. Now, I don't remember what the overhang is, so I'm about to go ahead and get this centered. Actually, before I even do that, let me measure the overall width of the thing. Let's see. This is 38. And this is 44. So 3 inches. Don't have my marking gauge, so I'm just gonna pull 3 inches. Alright, that's nice and tight. And now I need the T25, which is this one. And I can actually drive the shorter screws in through the side of the frame, which were these, I think 2-inch deck screws. And actually, let me reposition you guys. I gotta just come up through here with the deck screws. Ooh, that one went too far. And then let me switch to my 18 gauge stapler. And essentially I'm just going to come through with some 1¼ staples, shoot all this together, and then flip it over, get the other side fastened. Then I'm going to come back with my router and get both. So actually, before I even flip it, I probably can go ahead and push this in, get this whole side screwed in, flush trim this side, flush trim that side, then flip it over and go ahead and finish it up that way. 1¼ staples. All right, well, yeah, that's all good. Let me go ahead and drive in the screws into the side, and then I can go ahead and route to flush up the bottom. Alright, before I do anything else, let me transfer the center marks over. I know that one's dead centered. Don't have my square. There it is. Alright, now we should be ready to actually flush trim this with our router. And essentially, this is a bottom bearing straight cutter bit. So this bearing is going right along the 2x4 on the inside and trim the plywood to the dimensions. That will do. This is going to make a mess. Hearing protection. Oops. I forgot this didn't come all the way to the edge. So that I'm going to have to probably just cut that with a circular saw. All right. Do that for the other side. Flip it over. Do it again. And our bench is now at the proper height, or proper height for me to work with. Let's see if you guys can see this side. I'm gonna need some more extension cord. And for this one, the router needs to be going down. So I'll try to start as high as I can. Definitely a mess. But one more flip and one more pass, and the bench will be back on the ground like nothing ever happened to it. So, again, worth it upgrade. Something I put off for quite a while. Glad I can finally get to it. Whew. All right, let's sweep this up and flip her one more time. I think that's Amazon outside with my router tape, my router lift. right, one more flip. Ooh. Whew. Whew. Oh, you guys can't see it all where you are. All right. Whew. All right. Now we just got to cut them. Whew. And just like that, she is completed enough. I do need to go ahead and throw some staples in here. Sweep up and add these wheels and stuff back, but that's the bulk of it. I wish I still had the template because those lift up casters, they come with a template for the height recommendation off the floor. We kind of have to wing that, but short of that inconvenience, we have successfully shrunk this bench down to about as low as I would want to go, or I can go, without having to like remake the whole entire bench. So the next thing I'm going to move into is reinstalling my leveling feet, but I'm going to install them with them shrunk all the way down. Let me find an Allen key right size for this. I don't know, all those are too big or too small. Let me look and there we go. I'm going to shrink them down to as small as they can get, and then I'll do some leveling and stuff like that afterwards. I want these to be installed at their lowest setting, so they're as close to the other benches as possible. Because right now with the math, this bench should be at 34 1/4. And we're at 34 5/16. Plus the feet all the way down adds another 3/8. So 5/16. This is 34 3/4, about a 1/4 inch or so higher than those benches, which isn't too bad. It's pretty darn close. But now I can go in and slap these back where they were, and then drive in some screws. I can get long screws in the very bottom, shorter screws up top. So let me get the star bit, T15. And then I'm just going to go back into the same thereabout locations everything already was. And again, these are like some, I think, 3-inch GRKs. So they'll solidly bite into the 1x or 2x4 material down at the bottom, which gives us a nice strong bite. And I just need to use a shorter screw up top. Hey, how you doing? Thank you for joining in. The wheels I'm going to have to put on after I flip it back over. What did I just do with the Allen wrench? Put it down somewhere. No. Well, that's like the curse of the shop. The one thing that you're currently using, you put it down, and then she's gone. Oh, there it is. Whew. Now I need to use some shorter fasteners for up top. I think the longest I can put in there is like 1.5 or 1.25 inches. I think I got some 1.25 inch cabinet head screws. And these will do just fine. We have the really long ones down at the bottom. And then some 1.25 inches up top. All right. I'm going to sweep this stuff out. Actually, before I flip it over, I'm going to drive a couple staples on this side. Then we're going to give it a good sweep. And then I can go into reinstalling the wheels. All right. Let's see, we're just over 2 hours. I do need to check my battery on my phone. I know it's good for about 2.5 hours of a live stream before dying. Let's go ahead and flip her over. Nice and solid. I love that. And we're sitting at 34 7/8. And my other benches in the shop. Again, I couldn't bring it down to this height. I'm about to wheel one of these over there and show you guys. And again, the goal wasn't to get it. I was sitting the cutting board down there. Exactly the same height, but I wanted to get it lower. One, so operational use is a little bit better for me. An extra 1.5 inches isn't that great of a difference, but it does make a little bit of a difference. And I wanted to make sure that at the end, it was still taller than these benches. Where's the handle? Because these benches have the ability to adjust their overall height. Oh, this is the wrong one. Where's the other handle? Yeah. These benches have the ability to raise their tops. That was binding on it. Now, this bench is taller than that one, but a few cranks of the handle, and I can get benches perfectly in line with each other. And it doesn't have to raise up so much, but now I can use any one of my benches, this one or this one, to bring into the exact same height as my main outfeed table. And again, we're a good bit lower than what it used to be. About 1.75 inches shorter. So that was the mission of the day. I am quite satisfied. It's a bit of a pain to get to this point. A lot of flipping of this heavy bench. I do need to add the wheels and throw all the drawers back in. Let's see what my percentage is on my battery. Okay, we still have like 40%, so we might actually be good. Okay, so let me slide this bench back out the way. The next step will be reinstalling my wheels. Oh, wrong one. And again, how it's set up is, even if I don't raise this up, you got a small bit of a lip right here. So even if I was still outfeeding material, it'd still be fine. But I can always, again, bring this up, make it the same height. I can throw this bench here. I can grab the other bench. And pretty much achieve unlimited outfeed is the goal. I can pretty much line both these benches up and assemble a really long bookshelf. I can space this one all the way back here and be putting together a giant bookshelf utilizing all the benches is the end goal. I do wish that I could have made this again like just a tad bit shorter. And I do lose my toe kick ability. Originally, I had like 3 inches for my toe kick, but I almost never like come all the way close up to my bench to where my toes are underneath of it. So it's not big of a deal. I still can get my broom down there to kind of clean up. So that will work. Wheel time. I don't remember how these get installed. Not in particular. Or like the spacing they recommend. Because there was a jig that told you how high to bring it up. I might have to Google that real quick. Yeah, I probably need to Google that. We have 16 people in here watching. I greatly appreciate everybody who's in here right now. Yeah, definitely thank you. This live stream was kind of last minute. Again, if you guys don't know the antithesis of it, I have about 10 doors I'm getting ready to build for a client. And my original router table, the one that I use, is a POC style router table, which is just a piece of plywood. It bench dogs into the bench, and then I drop my router insert and I kind of work from there. I throw clamps or whatever else I need to on the table. It works fine, but it does like to lift up a little bit. There's no underneath dust collection, and I would like to build a better fence overall. So I say before I build a fence and do all the other stuff, make a proper router table. And the side of my table saw one gives me the perfect opportunity because this is dead space. Stuff falls in right here. I can be resting material and stuff will fall. So filling in this side of the wing, plus eliminating having to make my bench wider when I don't need it to. Like this eliminates a separate router table altogether. And then if I ever do need a second router, I can always put this on one of the other benches or bring my other table saw and hang it here or hang it on one of the other benches. So pretty much this gives me more flexibility by having a stationary router table inside of the shop. So that is what the antithesis of this was. Make this lower, and then I'm going to build a whole entire cart for the table saw. Something that can hold like crosscut sleds, extra blades, push sticks, the fence for the table saw, the fence for the router table. I'm also going to build a custom auxiliary fence for the table saw, kind of like NWA Woodworks. I'm going to build a large table saw fence that's going to hold feather boards and everything else. I wanted to pretty much have everything set up for this project before I go into building these doors. So again, I'm supposed to be starting today. I'm taking most of today to do this, build the router table, and build the base. Probably to finish up tomorrow, and then I can go into actually grabbing all the material to build all the doors. So I greatly appreciate again everybody who kind of hung out throughout this process, even despite this terrible glare that keeps popping up. I want to say thank you to you guys. You guys are the winners for the day. All I did was work on the bench. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a bit tired. I probably don't feel like messing with these wheels, to be honest. My phone has maybe like 25-30% left. I think I'm going to take a leak real quick, probably smoke a blunt. And if you guys have any questions, definitely start dropping them down in the chats. I'll try to respond or answer any of them. If you guys haven't seen the shop before, I'll try to give a quick tour. The hand tool bench, the drawer unit units, if you guys are again new to the channel. Pretty much everything on this channel I try to make slightly unique. So these units back here, if you guys are getting new, these are drawer units. I picked up the idea from Lincoln Street Woodworks to essentially build drawers on your upper cabinets to give you more access. The biggest problem with upper cabinets, especially again for people extremely tall like me, is you can't get to the very back of the cabinet without using a step stool or something like that. So by having upper drawers in each one of your cabinet units, you gain access pretty much. And then I can build custom organizers. This one holds again edge banding tape on the other side of this organizer. I have saw blades, etc., all stored over here. I think we just finished the drawer build on YouTube. There's an upper shelf there. Each one of these units come with a secondary shelf. It's a bottom shelf, upper shelf, going all the way down. And then they're all made from scrap around the shop. Scrap 1/4-inch plywood. The carcasses are all 1/2-inch OSB. Again, I like to use stuff that most people will toss or have no use for. So I think that came out phenomenal. Looking at how they actually look, can't even tell it's all scrap OSB. It serves as a double purpose to give me more storage for lumber up top. I have a bunch of walnuts sitting up there, and that's been up there for at least a month. So I don't have any worries about weight or any of this giving in. And instead of using metal drawer slides, we use wooden full extension drawer slides. That glare probably isn't showing off too well. These are all made with wooden full extension drawer slides. So if you guys are curious about this build, this just finished up on my YouTube channel. I have the whole entire series on how I built them, how I built the slides, how they operate. And again, they're smooth. Like, I can do this one finger. And then this is the one that holds the saw blades. You can kind of come up with whatever kind of organizers you want for each one. Again, you can make them prettier. You don't have to use scraps. But I took two different ideas from, I think, two really great YouTubers and put it together to make that. Also, one fun fact about this bench you guys see me work on the whole entire day is these runners. They're actually modular. There's 4 runners in each one, but these drawer boxes are actually made to be in increments. There's a 5-inch drawer, 10-inch drawer, and a 15-inch drawer. So on any one of these slots, I can put a 5 and a 15. I can do 3 5s, well, 4 5s. I can do 2 5s and a 10, etc. So pretty much all these drawers are modular, going all the way around the bench. And again, no metal drawer slides, just some AZAC. And then on the actual drawer boxes, they all have AZAC placed at the exact same spot from the bottom, so I can kind of mix up the organization of any of these drawers. So we have 5-inch drawers, 5-inch drawers. That is a 15-inch drawer. These are all 5s. This one is a 10, 5, 5, and 5. So I can kind of mix up how I want to do my storage here on this bench. I guess actually an old classic. I actually probably haven't talked about this one in a while. Because I don't think I'm going to do much more on the bench today. I think we're just going to kind of go around the shop and show off some stuff. Let me grab me a marijuana cigarette. So those doors in the back, probably one of the second or third builds. When I was doing that, I didn't have access to a bunch of wall storage. So what I ended up doing was build a set of doors in here because it was getting really cold. And this is a whole back section of the garage. So I figured heat just the front area versus the back. And then I added French cleats to it. These doors are made up of 2x12s, ripped and milled down. And then I put 1/2-inch OSB French cleats on the front. Painted them all black. We have a marker board section here. And then various holders, like this one holds all my markers. So I can always grab and leave notes. This one's cut list for a bookshelf. So, I can kind of have all my cut lists and everything I'm currently working on right here on the board. I have a sanding station with all my sandpaper. This is kind of an everything holder. It holds gloves, rags, my throat plates, glues. This side used to hold tape. This one holds various screwdrivers. This one's kind of an everything bin. I think a lot of YouTubers have that one. It holds your various battery tools from drills, jigsaw, sawzall, etc. It all kind of just hangs up there on the door. I have several batteries right here on the shelf, an extra sawzall. I keep my T-squares and squares. You guys probably can't see what I pulled off. I keep my T-squares and stuff hanging on the door. They kind of fit right at the not the T-Astra Gold, but the right there on the vertical stile and across that rail right there. This is a box I made out of a bunch of pine and stuff. This holds my chisels, planes, etc. I have my crosscut sled down here on the bottom. I can just pull it off and take it directly to my table saw. And that's just the front side of the door. Because on the back side, I recently put these little door stoppers. It's been a big thing for me because I normally have to take a wedge or something to kind of hold those open. But now I can kind of just use my toe and keep them open, which has been pretty awesome. But on the back side of the door, it holds a ton of stuff. One, a bunch of my clamps. We have pipe clamps. Excuse me. A bunch of my bar clamps. We have various little organizers that hold my nails, screws, magnets, threaded inserts. More clamps on this door. Again, there's French cleats on both sides. And then down here at the bottom, we have a material bin that holds a lot of my scraps. That is also French cleated on the door. So if you guys have ever wondered if you can use French cleats or 1/2-inch OSB for French cleats, the answer is yes. And then there's a ton of weight hanging up on these. They're not screwed in. They're just held on with staples. There's no glue or nothing on the French cleats themselves. So, and then the 1/2-inch OSB is holding up just fine. And then this is just some of the extra French cleat material. Just some 1/2-inch OSB. The material cart also has pegboard and everything else right there as well. Just so I can hang more stuff on it. I think this might actually, everything I've added to the shop, every time I do something, I think it's probably one of the best things I've added to the shop. But these doors realistically definitely open up a gateway for me. One for storage, two for organization, because before I built these, the shop was perpetually a mess. It's not much better now, but it's definitely better than what it was before I got these. The miter saw cart, I think, might have been the second build inside of the shop. And this one recently went through a series of upgrades. Mainly with the folding wing. Originally I had piano hinges on it, but now I have those adjustable floating shelf folding brackets on it. So it's a lot more sturdy. I added the Ron Park style flip stop. Well, I made one. So I can slide this pretty much anywhere in here. And whenever I want to make a cut, I just lock it down. This flip acts as a stop, but then you can always just fold it up out the way. So this actually sits behind the fence of the miter saw. So if you don't want to use a flip stop, you get this out the way. Whenever you actually want to make your repeatable cuts, you just bring it down. And then I think probably my favorite part is the expanding support. So again, if you ever want to cut longer material on a compact miter saw stand, this is the way to go. You can get the extensions, and then your stop block also comes all the way through to your extension. So I can make, like, I think it's, let's pull that all the way out. I can get 71.5 inches fully extended on the miter saw. So just under 6 foot. I plan to actually make a separate stop block that actually sits down in this groove and then hangs off and extends the wings. It's gonna be a separate project because sometimes I do cut things, you know, like door casing and stuff like that here inside the shop. We can go over that again. It's about 71 3/4 with the stop block. So again, gives you plenty of cut capacity, and for a small mobile cart inside of your shop. I think with, again, that small compact footprint with that large capacity, you really can't beat it. But I think that's going to be it for the day, guys. And if you guys have enjoyed, please let me know down below. Smash that like button, leave me a comment, subscribe to the channel, and then check out some of my older videos on these other builds. I greatly appreciate it. Peace.